These stable funds, Bob from Nebraska was writing in about those. What is a stable fund? It seems like an oxymoron these days.
Well, I don't think there's any such thing as a stable fund. I look for things for folks that are going to give them guarantees, not promises. I would say promises are meant to be broken and guarantees are forever.
And there's some real guarantees in
there
this market?
There are. And, a lot of them do fall on the insurance side of the business and say, look, we're going to give you X amount of percentage per year, win, lose, or draw, but you have to tell us how long we're going to get to hold that money. And even, a lot of people come back and say, well, what about AIG? How stable is putting money with insurance companies or an annuity or a long-term, a fixed annuity or an indexed annuity or even a variable? Well, even the AIG's insurance side is still very viable. It's very good.
Do you want to talk about, I just saw Patty's question come in, just really quick on it.
No, right, that's a good one.
Yeah, some scenarios, just to give you some, Joe, while we have you, maybe they don't have personal finance advisors, but Patty says she's retired in December of last year. She's 62 years old. She lost half of her 401k.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
Do I just wait for it to come back? Again, she's 62.
And I would say no. On a personal level, you have to look at, again, is she using that money for income? And if she is, then she really needs to look at, let's try to stretch that money and make it last for income as long as we possibly can for her. Yes, we want upside potential growth, but we also want guarantees that it can't lose.
So what's the first question Patty should ask? If she calls up, whoever's the 401k provider, what's the first thing she needs to find out about her
What
account?
are the funds that give me guarantees?
Right.
And do those funds give me any upside of the market potential when it comes back?
I got to tell you, this is one of the, Tom in North Carolina raises what I think is at least an interesting question to kind of put around. He says, you know what, I heard this stuff 20 years ago when I first started working. Probably went to a seminar and, wanted to know how to invest in 401ks. And he says, you know what, it isn't this easy. Someone else earlier, it scrolled by, had brought up this kind of trust factor. We were talking about Vegas and said, yeah, I might as well gamble in Vegas the way the stock market is these days. People have lost trust in the stock market. We talked to Adam earlier about this whole buy and hold philosophy. There are a lot of people who have lost trust in that, and that's essentially what a 401k is a lot of times. So what do you say to people that bring up those questions now that times are so tough for them?
Well, they have to look out for number one, themselves.
Yeah.
If your provider is only offering so many options, well, if you have the opportunity to roll some of that out and put it into a self-directed IRA or an individual IRA where you have more options, you may look at that as well. A lot of these 401k providers don't necessarily tie up your money that you can't take it outside of there, even when you are still working. So you may get more control, maybe get better advice or other advice from other type of financial people or insurance people that are going to secure that bottom line.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all about the safety. That's the whole reason I wrote the book. It's all about safety, safety, safety in monies that you're not willing to lose.
Well, what is the one mistake that everyone makes, whether it's 401ks, IRAs? What is the one thing that you just see time and time again?
They only spend 1 hour a year reviewing it.
Absolutely.
It's true, though.
I read a statistic recently, and I don't know if it's true. I'll have to fact check it for you guys, but I can say it's true for myself, and I'm admitting this. For women,
I'm clean.
For women, they say women spend more time reorganizing their closet than looking at their finances.
Oh, yeah.
And I can say that I've reorganized my closet a lot. As far as looking at my 401k, I've just been told, because haven't you been told all the time, to get the tax benefit, if there's a match, do the match. It's money that you want to put in there, you're going to invest, you're going to pull it out, it's going to be fine, no big deal. I
quote people all the time that, in their
By the way, my closet
plan,
is still really messy. It's really,
in their retirement plan, they spend 20 hours a year planning their vacation and 1 hour a year planning their retirement fund.
Right.
And I think this year is going to really slap a lot of people in the face that they.
But it's so it isn't easy to look at those funds. I mean, even myself, do business news every day. Look at the business stuff every single day. It's still tough to look at. I mean, is there 3 basic things that you should tell people to keep in mind when they're logging on and looking at their accounts?
Right.
What would be the 3 things
what
that I should look at?
What questions should they ask him?
Well, they should be asking, how do I allocate it for my necessity? And what part of it is play money? What part of it is necessity money? That's number 1. And then talk to the advisor of, if I'm going to go safe on this side of my money, give me the best 10 options that you can give me.
With the guarantees. This is back to guarantees. Okay.
On the necessity side. And then give me the income and growth side on the play money, I call it, that I may or may not need later. And let's take the aggressive side there. And then go double check that with someone else.
I see.
I'm a big fan of talk to one person, but talk to 3.
Right.
Ask 3 before me.
Exactly, and you'll get a lot of times you're going to get 3 different.
Your wife is very smart.
A lot of times you're going to get 3 different answers.
Right. So then, what do you do then?
Well, then you have to look at which. It's a trust issue.
Which one do you like?
Which one do you like? Which one is asking you enough questions to determine what is your plan? There's a difference between a planner and a salesman.
Right.
The planner's going to ask you, what about your mortgage? What about your house? What are your goals? What are your kids? You know, what are your grandkids doing these things? And a salesman's going to come in and say, well, how much money do you have to put in these funds?
Right,
Period.
and that's the difference between them. Somebody just wrote in the agenda that your whole plan changes when you hit 40. Who thinks you're less than 40?
I'm like,
you're under 40?
25 years away from that, so it's fine. You know, it's funny, we're watching the poll as you're talking, and the poll has kind of shifted a little bit.
He's changing public opinion.
You are changing, Joe Leonard, changing public opinion. The people that are putting in more money to their 401ks, that's dropped down a little bit, and people just not taking any money out.
And I think they still, you know, if they have a 401k and they're getting any type of company match, pump as much money in there as you possibly can.
Still right now?
Well, the match is still free money, unless you lose it in the market.
But here's the thing. You might be pumping it in still, but reallocate it to where it's
What happens
safer.
if you work for GE?
Well, you could. Well, it doesn't have to be invested in stocks, though, right? I mean, you could invest it in. It could be in bonds or something like that. And you still get the match.
Well, I tell folks, they say, "Well, I work for GE or I work for Ford, you know, and I put all my money, my 401k, into company stock because they were loyal to me and da 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 da."
Right.
And I ask them this: Well, why do you have an employee number? Because they don't know your name.
Right.
Yikes.
And when you retire, they're not loyal to you.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so the whole idea, I mean, that came up with Enron, right? Is this whole idea of company stock was nonsense. It was, so many people had gotten killed by company stock. So the book is called Retirement Vault. Go into the logic behind this whole idea. I mean, obviously it's to keep it safe, but I mean, it almost seems like a tough thing to do in this environment. In terms of the keys of what you write about in the book.
Yeah, I was asked to write this book, you know, a couple of years ago, and it came out this past summer, and you know, it was really about people that are getting close to retirement or already in retirement. Of what are their options, and what part of their plans are shifting and changing. They're worried about Medicare and Medicaid if they end up in long-term care. There's things about long-term care in there. There's things about, you know, how to hand that asset down if you're not going to lose it. I say we're all polygamists in this country. You're married to your spouse and to the government.
Right.
You divorce or die from either one, they're taking half.
That's right. Probably now more than ever in a lot of ways.
Do
you make any change, by the way, is there anything in the whole political debate that's going on now, especially with the budget and taxes in 2011 and the Bush tax cuts expiring and all that, is there any retirement implications that people should be thinking about a couple years from now, or thinking about it before those things go into effect, that they should
Yeah, there's some options in their distribution after they die of how they can distribute their money to their kids and grandkids that are available today. That won't be, I don't think, after 2011. And they need to take advantage of those because it is their money. It's their taxes. And the only reason they shouldn't take advantage of it is if they think taxes will be lower in the future.
So you're saying give them, well, hold on. So you're saying give the money away first,
not give it away,
or just have it allocated?
Have it allocated the way you want it distributed, not the way the government or
would distribute it for you,
or your kids will take it.
Right.